The Unwanted Undead Adventurer episode 5, and this episode was all about learning new things. I think that was the main focus, the main purpose of this episode. It was not so much about showing us some action, some fights, some really tense moments. It was more about introducing new little stuff that affects the story as a whole when you combine them. This episode I would call it more as a transitionary episode into bigger things that are going to happen in the next episode. Sometimes from time to time you have episodes like this in animes where not necessarily a lot of things happening, but that are still really interesting to look and watch at, because again they contain information that interests us. For example, in the middle of the episode we see a weird looking scene between Rentt and an elf looking woman, so yeah, that was pretty interesting to see happening. And at the beginning the conversation between Lorraine and Rentt was also really interesting. So things like that I think make the episode a really good episode and a really exciting episode where we learn a lot about new things. At the beginning of the episode we got a conversation between Lorraine and Rentt about, in general his new form, and in that conversation we got a lot of new interesting details about how he feels, how he acts and things like that. And one of the things that we learn in that conversation is that, for example, he still doesn't need sleep, or at least he says he doesn't need that much sleep, which I would assume he can maybe go days without sleeping or even not sleep at all. The other interesting thing that he mentioned was that he doesn't actually need to consume that much blood and flesh. He does still need, to consume, because otherwise he's going to lose control. But compared to when he was a ghoul, it is not literally the same, because before, what was it, a couple of days, maybe even a day or something like that, he lost control. It was very quick, and I would assume that in this new troll form he doesn't need to consume it that much, but Lorraine still gives him a little bit of her blood, so when he's about to lose control he just drinks a little bit. And another thing that demonstrates that he doesn't need that much blood or flesh or whatever you want to call it, is that with just one, I guess you can say, drop of blood, he was able to calm his hunger. So yeah, that tells you a lot about his new form. And of course the other thing that we learn, and that it is not surprising to see or to find out, it is that he doesn't or is not affected by poison, because of course he's an undead, and as we all know, undead beings don't get affected by poison or anything like that that would affect a human being. And it is the opposite for undeads, because them, they get affected by healing potions, herbs and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it is pretty easy to understand that he doesn't get affected by poisons and that he gets affected by healing potions. And then Rentt goes to register himself as a new adventurer, because Lorraine has the idea that, well, he cannot go as Rentt again, the normal Rentt, because people then will start wondering why he's hiding his face and things like that. So Lorraine basically tells him to start as a new adventurer, as an iron adventurer, and of course he does that. And I was actually expecting him to be caught, because when he was registering in the piece of paper, when he was going to write down his powers or abilities, I thought that maybe he was going to put his 3 abilities, and because of that the guild person was going to find out, just like the blacksmith did. But actually that didn't happen. I was surprised, because I was expecting that to happen. And yeah, he basically kept the same name, Rentt, because apparently that is a very common name in that world. So yeah, he kept that name but changed the last name, or I don't know if Rentt is the last name or first name, but regardless, yeah, he's now a new adventurer, and now he will start as an iron rank adventurer, which I would assume is the lowest of all adventurers. So I mean, yeah, he's starting a new life as a new adventurer. He goes to the dungeon again. In that dungeon, in that room that he was heading for, he finds a very interesting scene, to say the least, because in there he finds a skeleton, a dead person basically, and he also finds a weird looking, almost naked, I don't know if she's a elf or not, but basically lady woman there, being a little bit mysterious, being a little bit I guess you can say, well, yeah, weird, because the way she spoke was kind of confusing. She was all over the place. At the beginning she was angry, then she was sort of surprised, then happy, then kind of worried, all over the place. And it was not only her emotion, the things she was saying was all over the place too, because at the beginning she was kind of threatening, and then at the end she was kind of condescending in a good way, and then in the middle part she was kind of interrogating, and then she said some things, and then she said some others. She kind of had these mood swings. I mean, even Rentt was surprised by all of that. Who is she? I think that is something that we are all wondering because, I mean, her introduction in this episode was surprising to say the least. It had a big impact in all of us. Is she actually an elf? Could she perhaps be a ghost? I was wondering if she was a ghost or something like that throughout the episode when I was watching her because, I don't know, it was kind of weird to see her acting like that. At the very least, she doesn't seem to be like the other monsters because for starters, she seems to be more like a human being. Then again, like the other monsters, she also seems to be able to speak. So yeah, she's definitely a unique human, or not human, but a unique being. So let's see what happens with her in the next episode, I would assume, or maybe in the next couple of episodes. I'm wondering if she's going to be a regular in the anime. But yeah, hopefully besides her, we also get to see Rina because we actually didn't see her again in this episode. So yeah, let's hope that happens too. And this elf-looking woman actually gave Rentt some really interesting items. She gave him some sort of cape, coat, whatever you want to call it. She also gave him a really powerful map, which makes me wonder why did she do that? Is that room she was in really that important to her? I mean, she did mention it was important to her, but to the level of giving Rentt a code and also a really powerful map, yeah, it is really, curious to see that happening in the middle of the episode. So yeah, that was basically everything that happened in the episode. A very chill, a very calm, and a really interesting episode. I think we all enjoyed it. Hopefully the next episode also gives us really interesting things to see. And if you don't want to miss any episode reviews, please subscribe to the channel. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, that will be everything by me. And I guess I'll see you all in the next episode review.